Mm-hmm. Cheers, bud.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Algae, a Swamp Gang podcast where we will be diving into the murky waters of our thoughts and seeing what dwells under the surface. This is our very first episode, and I'm your host, Novels. Just to introduce myself. And with me today is very special guest Ronnie Champagne.
That is me. Hello.
So, a little backstory here: Ronnie and I have known each other for a long time.
Quite a while.
I wouldn't be too comfortable as to try to put an exact year on whether it was like 2013 or 14 that we met each other.
Not gonna lie, like there's a 5-year stretch where I don't remember anything.
Yeah,
from my life,
what an awakening of the soul that period of time. But yeah, Ronnie and I met each other through, excuse me, mutual friends, and
Wait, was that mutual friend Hunter?
the mutual friend would be, in this case,
Oh,
Mr. I'm not gonna drop his full name here, but Dan. Dan was the mutual friend in that one.
like my Dan?
You're Dan,
Oh, Danny Mac. Okay.
Danny Mac,
Wow.
because he was dating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we used to party in garages pretty frequently in
Pretty
that
heavily.
period, which is why you, as you may imagine, maybe not too much memory recall of that of that period of time.
Yeah.
But what we really connected on was our love of music, and that really, I think, solidified our friendship there. And a couple of years later, obviously, if you're not familiar with who we are already, Ronnie hit me up, was like, "Hey, dude, you play bass? I'm starting a band. You want to join it?"
Well, okay. So Mr. Knoll, Mr. Stray, as everyone knows him, we he came to me. He came to me with the idea for a band, and we kind of had like a project working prior, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to start something else yet, but okay, actually, random thought. One of the projects that he wanted to have with me, the name of it was called Nut House, but it was pronounced like NutthoWze or something like that. And that was like the first like idea that we ever wanted to do music together. And this was me like maybe, I don't know, I had a guitar and I could play like One Step Closer by Linkin Park, and that was like it. And he's like, "Hey man, I kind of like rap and you kind of like guitar, like why don't we make something?" But that was years before. And then like later on, after our other project that we kind of had, he came to me with the idea. I was starting a band named Sky Swamp Orange, and I thought that name was really dumb. I was like, that name is just so fucking stupid. Like what? And I sat on it for a little bit, and I was like, you know what? Let's do that. And so we started like working as that name, and then obviously we knew you, and we needed more people involved, and I was like, "Hey, Noel, you should meet this guy."
Here I am.
How'd that go?
Well, it's been pretty great so far. But yeah, no, man, it was a couple of months before everything. You guys had some demos put together, but it was a couple months really before Ooh, I gotta be careful
Easy
with
tiger.
that. Yeah, a couple of months before the ball really got rolling on recording with the process. But I remember it was like you had hit me up and you were like, "Hey, man, I might have something for you if you're interested a couple months down the line. Like, just keep it in the back of your head." And then you had invited me over to meet him and chill, listen to what you guys had, and I don't know. I felt it kind of clicked almost pretty instantaneously.
For sure.
But on that note, I'm gonna segue here and kind of looking at a journey through the things that we have done as a band, our discography and the things that we have accomplished, so to speak. So I'm just gonna dive right into this, if you're cool with that.
Whatever you want to do, man.
Cool. Let's start out right back like 2016. It's December. We're recording in your bedroom on the top of a hill
At the trap house.
at we call the trap house. Pretty much nonstop party central going on over there. Pool table in the room
for a while.
pool table in the living room. Just straight bachelor pad vibes going on. So the year is 2016. We had just gotten together, put these songs together, and then we dropped Closet Bones. I think it was June 29th, 2016.
I just want to put it out there that Noel was afraid that everyone was going to call it the Closet Boners, and I don't think one person ever did.
It probably will start now.
It should start now.
It should at this point. It's been so long. Please, spend no jokes.
There's no vacancies for that, dude.
So I'm just gonna jump right in with this. Condolences. I want to look back, kind of looking at.
Oh, you want to get granular?
I want to get. I feel like with this, our debut EP, freshman in the game of dropping and making music together. I feel like it was such a diverse, like very for what it was. I mean, it's less than 30 minutes if I can remember correctly.
It's
it's
got to be like 20, 25 maybe.
Something like that. And for us to have packed what we did into that, there is so much. I look back, it's so crazy. I wish that we knew what we know now back then. Obviously, that's not how things work, but I think there are some songs on that project that I would absolutely love to like go over, just
we would
revitalize
fucking murder
again.
Some of the, we can't do that though, because it's a slippery slope, and you know that Noel, as soon as he gets his hand on something from like back then, he's gonna obsess about it, and then it's just gonna turn into like a big thing. And
that's the thing. For those that do listen to Sky Swamp Orange, wondering why sometimes it takes us so long, it's because we have a hard time letting go and saying that it's good enough to go.
And also like these beginning tracks were like, it showed us the potential that we could do with so little, and now we know what we can do now, and we know where our ceiling is, and we haven't hit that yet.
Absolutely. But yeah, running down with this. So Condolences, first track on the EP. You know, what I love and about it, even though, you know, coming out of the game, it's got this kind of nitty-gritty feel to it. It's up in your face. It really was a nice little intro for what that was overall, you know?
It was really fun to play live.
It absolutely was, and it had so much potential for evolution when you were playing live. Like, you could change things up all the time because, you know, the saying goes, keep it simple, stupid. And we did with that, and it worked well. And
the fucking bell still haunts me in my dreams, though.
It's funny. I don't think you were thinking it was going to end up right at this point, though. You brought up the Linkin Park song,
One Step Closer.
One Step Closer. Yeah. When we played Condolences on our first headlining show, we did the breakdown into One Step Closer.
Did we really?
That. Yeah.
Yeah, full circle. Man. That was like the first song I ever learned on guitar, and it still fucking lingers around me.
Going into that, we had Locals Only.
That was next. Oh my God, Locals.
I have to, looking back, I'll be real on some of the stuff. I don't care at this point. It's been so long. You can harbor your feelings. You can change your feelings on what you've made. Locals Only is overall, probably not my favorite thing that we've ever made.
It's kind of funny because when I think about that first project, I remember Locals had that bass line, and it was originally like a MIDI thing that Noel
The
came up with.
808, yeah.
Yeah, and then you came in and played it on your actual bass, and it sounded like it was MIDI, but it also sounded real, and it was like so much better. And so when I think of that album and I think of your bass, I literally think of Locals.
I will say that was a fun like thing. It was a fun bass line for sure, and it was fun to experiment, figure out what exactly we could do and what we were capable of with making sound through our instruments, and saying, let's create this so we can bring it to a live element and it can translate in a certain way. So I will say that was super cool in that sense, and also have a great memory connected to that song where we were all in your bedroom. You, me, Longa was there, Zani was there, Noel was in there, Stray, and then there might have been one. I can't remember if Jordan was in there or not at that point in time. If he was hanging out with us,
I don't
too
think he was
often.
hanging out at that time.
But it was all of us in there, and we had just done that outro part, the "No Won't Sell My Soul" part, and then it was like we nailed it in there, and everybody was just like, "Yo!"
Well,
and
you know that vibe is at the end of the song,
it's
right?
captured in the song.
It's literally
there.
in every time I listen to that, I'm like, okay, that's.
And I
like,
will
that's
say that
cool.
does bring me back to like, I love the nostalgia of it for
100%.
sure. I think overall, just the song itself, and many people don't know there is a locked away hidden video to that song that
I tried to find it, I couldn't. Even I think it's been scrubbed from the face of the internet.
Fate wanted it gone.
Yeah, it was so. The first video I ever did, we're not gonna go too side. Maybe we can talk about this another time. But the first video I ever did was for Noel, and it was a video that he debuted as his own name, and it was a vibe back then. It does not hold up now for either of us, for music or video, and that video will never see the light of public. And it was hidden for a very long time, but I recently found it, so I have it for my own viewing pleasure. But the Locals video, it was bad. I had a friend film it who she was a photographer, and she didn't know video stuff, and I was just learning video stuff myself. And so like the footage wasn't great, the editing was awful because I waited too long to edit it, and then like when we had to release it, I got like crazy fucking sick, and then I had to pretty much do like 80% of the edit like while I was sick, and it was just not a good time.
Well, the other thing is too, we put together the storyline, which was an inside joke that nobody else was gonna get the joke that we didn't have a drummer at the time.
Oh yeah, we didn't even have a drummer.
So like there was a whole storyline we put into it, and then when we watched it back together, and we're like, this just doesn't even make sense.
Though I'm not gonna lie, if Hunter ever leaves the band, we should redo that video.
We could, and it would probably be much better now.
Honestly, we could probably even redo it with Hunter, but just maybe like make him asleep or something. Like he fell asleep at the drum set or something.
Hunter has narcolepsy. I'm sure he would proudly admit that.
He's also chronically busy.
He's chronically busy. He's busy all the time. I'll tell you, I've never seen somebody who can out party me. Who's prone to falling asleep at any point in time. But he kills it.
Yeah.
Everything he does, he kills the dude.
Actually, well, I mean, we'll get into this later, but no, we'll talk about it when we move on. But yeah, anything left on Locals?
Not on Locals. I can't touch. I think on Locals that pretty much wraps it up for me on that one. See, what followed that was Simple Strangers.
This song is okay. I just want to say I'm going to talk about Noel a lot because me and this man have been friends for a long time, and he makes me laugh with this shit that he does. But when we made this song, this is like the most like melodic, like whimsical song on the album. When we made that shit, he called it, and I quote, "the panty dropper," right? And he was obsessed with this song. He's like, "That's the fucking banger on the album. That shit's so good." And now, if you mention it, it's like his weenie shrivels up and just dies. Like he hates that song now.
He does. It's like the song that haunts him.
Yeah. We're nothing.
I
Nothing
Here's
but
the
simple
thing to me.
strangers.
I feel kind of like the exact opposite about that song, in which I truly believe we wrote and dropped that song way too early in our career.
Yeah.
Because if we drop that shit with everything that we have learned since then, I'm s- I'm gonna toot my own horn here. I'm gonna toot our horn. That shit would be a top 40 hit.
Well, I also want to put it out there, like, that Sky Swamp era was, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but like that Noel was learning how to write back then. Like, he wrote a lot in the past, and back then we thought it was dope. But the shit that he's doing now is dope. The shit that he wrote for like Closet Bones was pretty like generic, and like a lot of the songs on it have that like pretty generic. I mean, for all of us, like, don't get me wrong, like we're all there, but like I think lyrics especially like weren't there yet. But like Odium, you jump ahead, like this shit's fucking tight.
Mm.
Like we all fucking locked in for that.
100%.
But all of us on that old album was like, there's room for improvement for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were just learning how to do all this stuff together, and whatever it was anyway, we were all learning to do, at that time. Other than that, I mean, Strangers, most of the memories I have connected to that song revolve me rolling around the floor on my back.
Yo, actually, remember when I wasn't in the band and I joined you guys for some photography up in, I don't know where, some like Manchester or New Hampshire place or something.
Sure.
I think I hopped up with you for like vocals for like a hot minute.
Yeah. Oh. That was this in the last?
Zach and Longo were performing that night too. I forgot who. Anyway, I took pictures that night, and I have pictures of you in the fucking Arrow costume, the green,
Oh,
the green leather.
yeah.
I have
Oh, that
pictures
was
of
New
you.
Hampshire. Yeah, that was Lethal Weekend, whatever. Yeah.
I just found those the other day, and I was
Oh
like,
my
"Oh
God,
my
dude.
God, I forgot that this ever happened."
I went pretty dumb with some of those costumes that I used to
Wait.
put together.
What about your fishnet shirt thing you had that one time?
Yeah, that was yeah, it was like a vest, but it was a mesh vest that was fishnet, and I did that bare chest under that with the fucking trench coat on over that.
Your thing was like if someone asked you if you wanted to look like a bass player, you said, "No, I'll double down and give it to myself."
Yeah. For sure. That's the thing, because most people, I mean, I'm sorry, there's a lot of great bassists out there. Don't get me wrong, but most people don't care. Most people don't care. You ask somebody their favorite member of the band, they're not going to tell you the bassist 9 times out of 10. I hate to tell you, which is fine. But I didn't want to be that guy. I have a personality. That's it. That's my whole thing.
It's what's nice. No Vakes.
No vacancies is.
The one song that Hunter could never get right on drums.
It was almost his make or break in joining the band, because when we transitioned to we have to play live shows, we need a drummer. You cannot have a whole band without a drummer.
Yep.
You can be one guy. That's cool. 2 guys, maybe? Pushing it. You can do it. 3 guys, you need a drummer.
3 dudes, no drummer. It's just,
You're fucked.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Unless you're like a barbershop quartet with -1.
Or if you got some like dude from Pentatonics or something in there. Or a really nasty cajon player.
Oh, yeah. That's still a drummer, though, I guess.
I guess so. It's percussionist.
Yeah.
But
that song's, I don't know. That song's like probably the most mid on the album.
it is, however,
It's fun to play live.
it was really fun. It's really punk rock.
That's when I would fucking scream my fucking ass
For
off.
sure.
And that's when I would go wild.
Absolutely.
'Cause that shit-
It's 3-chord song.
Yeah. And I had my wireless and I would just get down in the crowd and just fucking get weird with that.
I do think that is one of the ones too that it did go off live because of how energetic we were.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I say what you want about punk rock music overall, that is something that makes that genre so successful, I think, and so popular, is not so much how well the instruments are being played, how good the vocals are, but the passion behind it
The
and the
fucking
energy.
Yes.
And that is why people love fucking punk rock music, and you have to respect punk rock
Yeah,
music.
because honestly, punk fucking sucks. Like, a lot of it, it just doesn't sound good. But you go to a punk show, and that shit will change your fucking life.
Okay, you know, real sidebar, real quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of punk music, okay, I've been starting to listen in a little bit to this band from Australia called, I don't know if it's Amel or Emil,
Nothing's more punk than Australia.
but it's like Amel and the Sniffers or Emil and the Sniffers.
Okay.
But it's this like really short, like blonde girl that like fronts the band, but she's got fucking rage, dude.
Let's go, dude.
And dude, it's cool.
Another side note too, and this is me stepping out of my territory. So if anyone wants to like fucking shut me up for this, like whatever. But I felt like for the longest time, I don't know how to explain this without sounding like a fucking cuck, but I feel like for the longest time, female fronted bands were seen as female fronted bands, and I feel like recently, now they're just fucking bands.
No, that's not incorrect. That's absolutely, unfortunately, it's true.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to say, but yeah.
But basically, the reason I said that is because I feel like, and not to like backstep here, but I feel like the female fronted bands nowadays are finally getting the recognition and appreciation in certain genres that normally they would just be looked at as a female fronted band.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you look at a band like
Spirit Box.
Spirit Box
comes
was
to
going
my
to be
mind.
my exact example of that.
Like, she's not only killing the scene, but leading it right now.
Oh, 100%. And then I know that technically it's just like her namesake, but like I know Poppy's making waves right now too.
She's making other waves. That's like,
Yeah, she literally has hit like almost every genre. I can't even.
she's a psychopath.
I feel like we're gonna touch more on this kind of stuff like in a little bit down
Yeah,
the line here. So, but
We'll come back.
to the other thing with No Vacancies though that I will say, this is the first time in at least that I can see through like record that Noel is Stray. Noel Stray.
I'm just gonna call him Noel. He knows I'm gonna call him that.
It's gonna happen.
He is Stray. He's in our band.
We're being very casual here, but it's the first time you're hearing him really do the chopper type lyrics and vocals, pushing himself to try to get that a little bit faster than he's ever done before. A little bit, you know, this is where you're seeing him jump out of his comfortability and try to push himself for the first time, I think, on record to me. But yeah, those are just a couple of cool components of that song. Just the vibe, the energy, and
Definitely was better live.
yeah, it definitely translated better live than it is on record. Yeah, for sure. And then closing out the album with Cascade. I don't really have too many notes. I'm gonna touch on this song personally for myself.
I would just say it's a heavy hitter.
It's a heavy hitter for sure.
It was intentionally written, and I do want to say though that my solo on that song, I think it was just me and you.
Oh
and
yeah, dude.
It was one take.
It was
Picked up the guitar, played it, and I'm like,
incredible.
that's the one.
That was great.
It's not perfect, but it has that imperfection. You know when like music has like there's something like it's the Dave Grohl kind of like vibe where
Oh,
like
100%.
you play it fucking almost intentionally sloppy and it sounds better that way.
It's the emotion
Like
behind
real. Like it
It's
sounds
real.
Yeah.
it.
And I think that solo kind of nailed that song.
100%. I think the bass line's really good in that one too, which actually I think you helped me write that bass riff if I'm remembering correctly on that. And yeah, I know you have definitely helped me nail it with the timing and stuff because we went over that over and over and over. But yeah, other than that, it's an emotional song. It was written with intention, and if you know, you know.
I do want to one more shout out though. Lana Moore, that verse on that song is probably one of my favorites that he's still ever written. And
He did
selfishly,
fantastic.
it's on our
100%.
music, but I think it was just every time I hear his verse on that, it gives me chills.
You know, touching on that, I forget that that's literally the only song we have written with him.
Yeah, which is
And
weird.
it is weird. I think about it. It feels like we had written more with him, or we should have, but he was writing his own stuff at that time. He was working on his own stuff, so doesn't always crisscross. So things happen. But yeah, no, Killer Verse, definitely one of my favorites as well. And we also have a friend of ours' mother that did her vocals and really killed that, and I think in just 1 or 2 takes as well.
Yeah, Laura, beautiful, beautiful voice. Definitely the cherry on top.
And then our sophomore EP we will dive into here is
a train wreck.
The time period was a bit of a train wreck.
We took our creativity and like pushed it from like a 7 to like a 10, but our execution dropped from like a 10 to like a 6.
Yeah.
And it was like a really weird period where, here's the hot topic, we were partying and we were doing a lot of it.
A lot.
And we continued to do a lot of it.
It was, we had moments too, I'm not proud of, for sure, where I got a little too sauced on cam, and our boss at the time saw it. He wasn't too thrilled about it. So I had to be careful with that. But yeah, jumping into this, harmonies and hangovers, total switch in vibe. I mean, night and day, pretty much, from what the Closet Bones was. At least I think. Kicking off that EP, holy crap, what was the opening song on it?
Was it Luna? No,
I
think Luna was later.
can't remember. There's only 4 on that one.
This is very on brand for this EP, not knowing what it was.
Yeah.
I can't even fucking.
There was so much that we intended to do for this EP.
Yeah, it was actually supposed to be another 5-song EP.
We had
Luna, yeah, it was Luna.
Yeah, so yeah, it started with Luna. We had our friend, very close friend of ours, Jordan, came into the fold.
Oh yeah, he joined the band.
He joined the band, and he added another kind of dynamic to everything, both musically, live.
Actually, I do gotta say, this was probably the period when we were like least cohesive, like making music, but it was probably the most fucking crazy and intense we've ever played live.
Oh, 100%. I'm not even gonna go track by track at this point. I'm just gonna spit stuff out because I'm probably gonna bore people, and I'm taking too long with that. So
I don't know. I mean, if anyone's watching this, they're probably fans, and maybe they want to hear something about the songs.
you're probably right.
We could run. So it's Luna, Tangerine, East Side, Prism.
And Prism. Oh, damn. See, I actually love this EP though. As non-cohesive as everything was going creative-wise, and because it ended up being 4 songs. I'm going to tell you, I know that there was almost very closely, about this close, a 5th song. We just couldn't get it together for that. And then I am pretty sure there was even 4 other demos that we had that we just could not, for some reason, make work. But with those 4 songs that we did get down, I mean, Luna is a bop, I think. It's got this groove to it.
For like the old era, I think Luna's my favorite song out of all of them.
I will say the song that comes after that, to me, I love Tangerine.
My parents love Tangerine. Like my mom will still quote that to me.
It's a nice, like,
I was at my parents', I think for like I don't know why I was there, but I went in my dad's garage and he was listening to music, and then Tangerine came on. I was like, what the fuck?
I will say it's interesting to me, like, first of all, when we were writing that, we picked a very weird kind of scale almost to hit in terms of the notes. Like, it was like F sharp was the first note or something like that. I'm not going to get too technical into all this, but like it was just a very interesting way to start like the notation. Like we hadn't written within that key before. So it was out of the comfort zone. It was also like I don't even know how you would explain what the genre is on that. It's almost kind of like a reggae-esque like bass line in terms of the way that it's ska, almost like a ska type reggae ska
It's like
bass
pop
line.
with like those undertones.
Exactly. And it's a good poppy like love song to it. We had he goes by Yearbook now, but at the time he went by Descendant on there, Andy. And he added a nice like really kind of big ending to that with the chorus and the harmonization.
Talented dude.
Yeah. So I love that one. Eastside was an anthem
East
for a
Side.
long time.
I remember looking at the project for East Side towards the end. That song had like, I'm not even kidding you. It had like 60 layered tracks, and it doesn't. It sounds like it was recorded in a fucking garage. I
Does.
love how raw that sounds. I kind of wish that it was plucked off that album and released as like a solo song, because I
Yeah.
feel like it doesn't really fit the. So actually, Harmonies was originally supposed to be an acoustic album.
Yes.
So East Side is the only thing that actually stands true to the original idea that we had for Harmonies, but I think that would have maybe like felt a little more appropriate if that song was just taken off that project and released separate, and then we had those three in there.
Yes, and at that point it would have been like a 12-minute EP.
That's fine. That's what an EP is.
That's true.
5 is like a long EP to be honest.
It is a long EP. I don't know why we were always striving to have a need to put out so many at a time.
I think that was me. I think I was like, no, I'm not a bitch. I'm not putting out 3 songs. Like, no, we're gonna give people like an EP. It's gonna be fucking 5 songs. It's a badass EP.
And then the closer was Prism.
Which still is a lot of people's favorite song.
It is a
Prism
lot
was
of
actually the
people's.
first like good video I did for Sky Swamp.
Still holds up very well.
It actually does. I will say, I shot in like a flat picture profile, which means that like the blacks look more gray and that kind of stuff, and the whites look more like also gray, but like less of a different gray. Anyway, and I kept it flat because I thought it looked more filmic, and now I wish that I put like a harsher grade on it, so that way it could look a little more contrasty. And that's the one thing that's always haunted me about that video that I've never actually admitted before. But otherwise, I do love that video. It was our first like proper attempt at some kind of artistic storytelling with the suitcase and everyone dragging around their baggage. We actually took the idea and made it literal, like carrying around your baggage.
Yeah, you could see that message so clearly as well. You know, it didn't take a rocket scientist to understand what was trying to be talked about there, and it was clear. The message was clear. It was portrayed beautifully. To me, I had a great time that night walking through New Haven.
And I had Longa help me film. Too.
Yeah,
he was trying to learn videography and whatnot.
I think
he's my little disciple.
He did the live shots too in the barn, right?
That sounds about right. Probably,
yeah. That was a good time, man.
That was actually a good set.
That was a really good set.
The backlighting. That's when I first really did that backlighting, and it.
And then, that was Harmonies and Hangovers. Fun little fact about that: it almost didn't come out on the right time, which is very on brand.
I was gonna say it's like kind of a theme for us.
But came out right in the nick of time on SoundCloud. But yeah, that was a fun one. And then the following year, okay, so lot going on during this time period. The next single that comes out after that is Suburban Reaper, which I do really want to talk about, but I do want to a little bit, without putting too many, not going to put anybody's business out there, but between the time that Harmonies and Hangovers dropped and the time that Suburban Reaper dropped, which was only like a little over a year and some change, so much happened.
Yeah.
An incredible amount happened. First of all, the unit that we were, which was Ronnie, myself, Hunter, Jordan, and Noel, we had gotten thrown a lot more opportunity our way very quickly than I think any of us were expecting at all. And we did a lot of shows locally, and then we got to go out, do the Warped Tour, and everybody was really not on the same page, I think, at all. There wasn't really much great communication happening between all of us, and I think
it was more. It was just more of what was happening during Harmonies, but just amplified.
It built up.
Our bad routines were just becoming
worse.
More bad.
Yes, and it was building tension between us as friends and brothers and band members, and it just tore us apart quite a bit. So during this time period, we had started working on this single that was Suburban Reaper, and we had like some bare bones. Ronnie and us, we had parted ways for a period of time. It wasn't a very again, as he has stated,
it was the band's weird teenage years.
Yeah, we were all angsty. We didn't know how to talk to each other correctly.
No,
and we were all drinking.
Go fuck your feelings, man.
Drinking a lot of alcohol.
Yeah,
and those things never help anybody. In any situation, quite frankly.
But I gotta say, out of it came one of the best songs Sky Swamp's ever put out.
100%. So
I'm so sad I wasn't like part of like that release, but
here's the thing, though. You were.
In a way, yeah.
People don't realize this. Okay, and so
I made the best video for it that Sky Swamp's ever had.
100%. So this song, Suburban Reaper, we dropped it 2019. The band lineup, I'm going to put in quotation marks as it was myself, it was Noel, it was Jordan, it was Hunter, and at the time we had brought this guy Norris on, and so we had him there, and he was kind of doing some guitar work for us. Now, he did add quite a bit to the song with guitars, a lot of stuff. Your original kind of bare bones guitar riff was still the core root of the riff overall, and
I gotta say though, he spiced it up, and
he did spice it up.
It sounds honestly better than probably what I could have done for that song, because the way he played it is not a way that I would have thought about it. And it sounds real like fucking rock.
Oh, 100%. Norris is and was a very, very good rock and roll and blues guitar player.
Absolutely.
He is very good at that. He's very good in that rock and blues pocket. And he did add that kind of, especially that outro, and kind of like guitar riff, and on the hook as well. You know, the wailing. He makes it wail, which is great. I thought it was cool, you know. But what is very special about that song is technically every single person that's ever been involved with Sky Swamp was a part of that song in some way, shape, or form.
Probably why it's like the best song too.
And Ronnie did the video for it.
The video was my favorite,
and it was
actually probably my favorite video that I've ever done. It
directly tied into the last video of Prism, because we had the suitcase, which the Reaper, you know, collected, threw things in, and then threw it in the fire. But yeah, and then after Reaper, and just before Reaper, with everything going on, we had a collection of songs we were kind of working on. All of it got thrown out. Um, Jordan and Norris ended up parting ways with us.
Well, I came back in.
And yes, and Ronnie was back in to the fold by that point in time.
All I'm going to say about that era, it was the peak of all the bullshit coming to a climax.
Everyone had things they had to figure out, you know, and just with different periods of everybody's life where there were different interests that needed to be sought after for basically everybody. Moving on from that, now we kind of get into the common era of where we are, the nitty gritty.
Dude, we're even past that. We're on the next era.
We are now, but
it's not modern anymore.
It's not modern anymore. Is that 2 years or 3 years old now?
I think
at the time of I think it's 3 years old. 22.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So like,
I don't actually want to run down this album though.
We don't have to, but
we can talk a little bit through it. Yeah, 22, May 13th, 20. Wow, almost to the fucking, almost literally to the day. 3 years old.
Wow.
Oh, it feels gross.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna dive too much deep into this, but yeah.
I'd say just listen to it.
Yeah, our debut, and I think we really have come into our comfortability in terms of finding who we are musically.
Yeah,
and what we want to be doing.
I absolutely want to say about this album, the one thing that I want to mention is that we how I mentioned like the band hit that like apex of just bullshit. This album was kind of our healing process after that, and we started it really angsty and we finished it completely different people. And through that album, like I feel like we finally found the sound of Sky Swamp that we've been chasing for a long time. That's not to say that might change. But at least like that's like what I kind of always envisioned Sky Swamp being, and I feel like we finally had the chops to pull it together. I listened back to that project and it still fucking holds up.
Oh, 100%.
It's still great.
100%. I love that project. I really do, and I'm very proud of us for it. I mean, maybe for some people it's a walk in the park and it's easy to just spit things out and then throw it out there. And if that's the case, good for you. I'm happy for you. No hate on you, but like, it's not easy for a lot of people who particularly overthink and pull apart everything that they do before they push it out to the world. And to put together a whole album worth with 4 people who do that, you know, it's a real sense of accomplishment when you get to throw that out and put that out and then listen back and feel that way.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the journey, basically, thus far, of Sky Swamp, and basically who we are in terms of music.
And they might be saying, what's next?
You might be saying that.
I'll tell you right now. Podcast.
That's it, man. Here we are. This is the new age.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
You might hate it. Too bad.
We could sing and then call it a song.
Too fucking bad. We're going to take a quick break before we segue into our next topic here.
Hell fucking yeah, dude. Hey there, and welcome to the sponsorship portion of this content. Now you might be wondering, who would sponsor these two goobers? Like, who would do that? Well, it's me. I'm sponsoring my own content. And you might also be wondering, what do you mean your content? Isn't this novels content? And well, yeah, he is the host, but I'm the one behind the camera. I'm the one that makes novels look as good as he does for all of you. And also, I'm the one that mixes the audio and makes sure that your little earbuds can hear this man as well as they do. All right? So that's why my little new production companies are sponsoring this video. That's right, Blood Moon Visuals and Solar Flare Media are going to be the sponsors of this content right here. Blood Moon Visuals is my passion project page where I will be posting, behind the scenes stuff, little creative videos that I make, basically anything that comes from the mind of me, Ronnie. And so far, all the Sky Swamp content comes from me and me alone, and that is Blood Moon Visuals. Now, Solar Flare Media is going to be my client work. Anything that's not Sky Swamp or Ronnie related is going to be Solar Flare Media. That'll be the hub for all the things that I can do for all different kinds of clients and anyone else interested in working with me. So if you want to follow me for my creativity, go follow Blood Moon Visuals, blood_moon_visuals. And if you perhaps want to get some client work from me, go follow Solar Flare Media, solar_flare_media. And there's not a lot of stuff on those pages right now, but there definitely will be in the future. So thank you. Stay tuned. Appreciate you.
And we are back. So for the second half of today's episode, I want to ask a question. This is actually not my idea, but I'm just so good at segues. I want to ask the question. What is art? What defines it?
You're literally going to steal my topic from me?
We can run it back.
How
if
disrespectful. No, we're going to send it.
I just was like, how do we get started here?
Let me talk about the topic that I wanted to talk about. All right. The idea is, yes, like what is art? What defines art as art? And also, like, how do you create art? Like, who do you create it for? Do you create it for yourself? Do you create it for your audience? And if you're doing one or the other, is it art? I feel like it's like such a loaded, term.
It is a loaded term, and I think what makes it so loaded is the fact that the definition of art is so subjective. You can't necessarily define it because to each person, they look at and view art differently.
Yes.
However, I do feel like sometimes there has to be a line, but that's just me.
So the reason why I thought of this topic to bring up is because I was listening to another podcast, and in that podcast, it was like a photography podcast, and the guy's an asshole, right? And I listen to him because he's an asshole, but he knows what he's talking about.
Fair
so I'm
enough.
like, you're valid, but you're also fucking a cocksucker, so whatever. So we're listening to it. And he said that he was in a museum, I think in Philly, Philly. And it was a museum, and he walked into one of the exhibits, and it showed a photographer that had shot something. It was shot on film, and it was, I guess, edited or developed a couple years later. And it was like recent. It was like 2018 or so. And he went in on this photographer. He tore her apart. And he said, this is not art. This is trash. This is garbage. This is like literally some of the worst photography I've ever seen. And I'm like, this can't be that bad. And I looked it up. And I was like, damn. Like, I don't like this. I think this is bad. But I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to say that this isn't art, because who am I to say that? Like, is there anyone that can even say something isn't art? Like, even if you have an art degree, are you allowed to say something's not art?
Well,
And then what is art?
it's actually interesting. I'm kind of touching upon what you're saying there. I don't know when this podcast episode, when you're listening to this, is, but at the time of recording, very recently, in the I think it's in the UK, this woman opened an art exhibit that is women only allowed in, right? So the point of the art exhibit is to display discrimination. how women have felt discriminated for years, particularly in art related setting. And some guy tried to sue her because he was not allowed into the art exhibit. And
Oh, so you're not allowed to see it.
as a man, you are not allowed to enter.
Wow. Okay.
She won. And she actually thanked the gentleman by saying, "Thank you. You've helped me prove my point in this exhibit."
Honestly, that's kind of crazy. But
So-
like not in like a bad. I kind of support that. Like
It almost furthered the art in itself by
that's
bringing
actually-
it to
yeah.
a courtroom. But I think, again, when you look at that, how some people might be thinking, how is this art? In a way, it is art, even the lawsuit in the media, this whole thing, because it was conceptualized. The whole exhibit itself, in allowing women only, it could be an empty room in there. I don't know what's inside of that,
and you never will.
and I never will. It could be an empty room. But it's the thought of provoking me to think, what could be inside there?
You got some crazy hairs right now.
I'm sure I do. Oh, hang on.
Put them under the yeah. There you go. Sorry, I just wanted you to look good.
I appreciate that. But I think it's what makes what provokes the thought and provokes emotion is almost what defines it as art. Personally, to me.
Yeah, and I agree. And I guess my other like when I was taking a shit the other day, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, what could I say that makes this? And I'm like, do you produce it? Like if you exist your whole day, like waking up and brushing your teeth, that's not art. But you could produce something about you brushing your teeth that could be art.
That's true.
You could brush your teeth in an artistic way, but then that's you producing a method to do so.
That's true. I will say though, like at what point are we crossing a line? At what point?
And for the longest time, you know those paintings where people just like splatter shit at like a canvas,
Like a Pollock?
and yeah, and they call it art. And for the longest time, I was a hater on that, and I still kind of do hate it in a way. But it in a way it represents like motion, right? And it represents like activity, and this is the slippery slope that starts becoming what is art, because like is the art piece in that scenario, is the art piece the piece that is produced, or the process that it took to produce it? And in that kind of scenario, I feel like the art is the effort that went into producing it, but all you get to see now is just the piece, the canvas at the end.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I see. To me, the problem I have, it is the bane of my existence that there was a fucking banana taped to a white wall and sold for over hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh my god, that's actually wild.
First of all, if you bought that,
but does that make you start thinking? Is that thought provoking? Because
No.
obviously, it is to somebody, because I thought about buying it.
they did buy it. Somebody did buy
That's what
it.
I'm saying.
First of all, if you bought that, fuck you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll honestly
if you
go
bought
fuck
that,
yourself.
fuck you. You're the problem. You're a part of the problem in this entire globe of issues.
But then now it raises another piece to what is art, and that is desirability. So like, do you produce it? Is it thought provoking? And is it desired?
I get what you're saying here. But if I desired a piece like that, so much so, I would go home. I would fish through my drawers. Maybe I don't have it in my drawers or on my counter. I will go to the grocery store. I will spend $3-4 on a roll of duct tape, silver duct tape, and maybe an extra $2. Not even. I can grab one banana off the motherfucking whatever banana bunch.
But then you're a copycat, and that's not art.
But I could bring it home and put it on myself because I liked the way it looked.
But what you could do is you could add a piece of black tape, and that's
Originality now.
Artistic interpretation.
That I
see what I'm saying here? It's fucking
I get
crazy.
What you're saying, but like
it's a wild like slope that like. And who are you to say that that's not art? Do I think that banana on the wall is not art? Fuck yeah, I think that's so fucking dumb. But I can't call it not art.
I get what you're saying, but you know, you look on the flip side of things, and you look at an artist like Banksy, right?
Banksy, yes.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the video, but to me, it happened however many years ago. It went kind of viral, but there was an auction at this museum, and they auctioned off a Banksy, and as soon as it sold,
it fucking
it
shredded.
dropped through a shredder.
Yes.
Which actually malfunctioned. It was supposed to go all the way through, and I believe it stopped halfway, but it was still too far gone in damage. But
then it made it probably worth more.
Absolutely. But also sends the message that art in itself cannot be owned.
Banksy's a fucking G. I gotta say that. I fucking love Banksy.
100%. Nobody knows who the hell he is.
The paintings that he produces are simple yet so complex at the same time. They have a message behind them, and on top of that, Banksy as a whole is a piece of art. Like the entity, the individual, the message that is Banksy is just a work of art in general.
You think about that because realistically, it might not even be one person.
It might not. Yeah, you're right.
Nobody knows. Somebody knows, but they're not going to tell us.
Well, that's like the fucking ghetto Banksy of Connecticut, the VO guy that puts the VEO and everything. Code. I think it's more than that.
It might be more than that, but if you look into each symbol, it's hobo code.
Have you looked at hobo code before?
Yes.
I have too. I didn't even know there was a thing, and I looked at it and I was like, I was a whole like it's safe to sleep here. It's not safe to sleep here, or like
it's genius.
Yeah, it's actually fucking. But hobos aren't learning that. We got crackheads. They
not
can't even
anymore.
fucking. No, not anymore. So VO, that's some kind of like demented like graffiti artist that thinks there's. I don't even know. I will say, they get themselves into some of the crazy places.
I don't understand how some people are tagging some of these spots.
That's what I'm saying. And like other graffiti artists, they put it in places that I wouldn't say make sense, but in places that like it works, I guess.
On the side of
the VO guy, whoever that is, VO guy, girl, gal, individual, whoever, they put their fucking tag in some of the fucking craziest places. And at this point, it might not even be the same person.
I don't know, but
still.
Somebody's hanging upside down from a bridge.
More than that, yeah. Breaking into places and fucking climbing shit that they shouldn't.
How somebody hasn't, or law enforcement hasn't caught somebody in the middle of doing this, and the places that these places like are displayed is unreal.
But is that art?
I will say I do not think, in my opinion, to them, I think it's just somebody being an asshole.
So I think it's art. I think it goes in art in this like topic right here, in this person or whatever it is. I think the art isn't what's left behind, but again, I think it's the action of what's ever happening. The mysteriousness behind it, the widespread tags everywhere. Like if you live in this area, you fucking seen them, and you've seen them everywhere.
Oh yeah. There's probably not a town in Connecticut where a VO isn't sprayed somewhere.
Like they're everywhere, and so it's like the mysteriousness behind that is so artistic to me, and I love that.
It is. You know what? I do think a huge part of it is mystery, you know, and leaving interpretation up to people who are viewing it. Which I can kind of, I get behind it. I get what you're saying. Not any single person can say what is or what is not art, you know, because of how subjective any single thing can be.
Well, I think that's what makes art special as well, is the fact that you can't deny anything as much as you want to. Like, I could look at that trash can over there, and I'd be like, that's my art piece for the day. And you're like, go fuck yourself. I'm like, no, I put it on a little platform. Look at the light hitting it. It's so fucking artistic. You know, it's emphasizing the trash can, and that's art.
I mean, to your point, have you ever seen? I've seen a couple of videos online of this, and I love this. I really want to try it myself, low key. Is people take like their own like homemade painted like canvas or whatever, and they bring it into an art museum with them, and then they just put it somewhere.
Well, you see that video, or it was like someone left their shoe in the middle of the floor in like an art museum, and people were just like snapping photos of it,
Yeah,
like it's a piece of art. Like,
wow.
but at that point, it becomes art. Like, that's, to me, as shitty as that is, at that point, that literally becomes a piece of art, because you did that with the intent of getting someone to react to it, and they're reacting to it.
Now, here's my. This is also a super subjective question. I don't think you can give any sort of objective answer to this. Purely opinion based. Over time, do you think throughout history, art has gotten better, or that it's gotten worse over time?
I think it's waves constantly. Like,
which is totally
this is really
umbrella question.
This is very much an umbrella question, and this is also depending on who you ask, because if you ask me, and let's use like hip hop as an example, or rap, I would say, that mumble rap era, like, I would say that shit was fucking trash. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was good. But you talk to people that did like that stuff, and they explained why it was good. Like, why, like, that shit was just real. It was like fucking, that was them in the trenches, like, doing their shit. Those were the real motherfuckers, kind of like spitting their shit. I didn't like the way it sounded. I thought it was thoughtless, but people thought that was art. And like, so I think it really depends on who you ask, because if you ask me, I would say that era was a really weak time for like rap and hip hop. But you ask other people, and they're like, that was like one of the most inspiring times, one of the most like different and explosive times for hip hop and rap. So, I mean, it's peaks and valleys for no matter who you are. But I feel like, as a constant, if you're judging everyone's levels of like if you're factoring if you're factoring in everyone in the whole world, I would say that there's probably a pretty constant like art over time. Like, I'm explaining this like shit, but like if you did the average of every single buddy, I'm fucking stupid now. I can't even talk. If you're factoring in everybody's opinion to an average, then I would say like art probably is pretty flatline. But if you're talking to any one culture or any one person or any one area, they're probably going to say there's certain peaks and valleys for certain things.
I was just going to say peaks and valleys for sure. I really wasn't thinking of how general that question was when I threw it out there. But I don't know. When I think back to, I said art, and for some reason, my brain went to like painting and sculpting and stuff like that, which is so like closed-minded, really, for me to. I think it was because of where we were at in the conversation, but I look back. I think for me, it is also peaks. It all depends on what kind of art you're looking at, in my opinion. I think in terms of like stone and chisel and painting and stuff like that, I really think that you go back to like ancient Greece and Italy. Those, to me, I think you have to there's something to be said that so much of this stuff has stood the test of time for hundreds and hundreds of years, in some cases thousands. And there's something that has to be said for that, as well as like, holy shit, how lifelike and so to the detail in stone these sculptures are and these paintings are. in terms of like, I would have to say personally, I'm sure there's many people that disagree with me. Music wise, peaks and valleys. Again, that's
Well,
just
even our own band, like Peaks
yeah.
and Valleys. There, we were just talking about that. Like,
It's purely opinion there.
yeah.
I do love me some like I gotta say, Fallout really turned me on to some really good like 30s and 40s tunes for sure.
Like the video game.
Yeah, dude,
Okay.
Fallout 3, that was
All
my
right.
shit.
Yeah, whatever works, I guess.
But I mean, I do like some old school blues music. 50s is okay. 60s, I'll get down with some Beatles. I get down with some Stones. I dig it. Some Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash. Yes, please. 70s. 70s got some good stuff. ABBA. No thanks for the most part. As catchy as their shit is, I'm not a big disco guy. Although I will say, disco bass riffs, I think they were fucking stomping on everybody's ass back
Ahead
then.
of their time, yeah. I will say personally, I think the worst era for music was the 80s. I hate the 80s with a burning passion.
I have to say I was raised on 80s music,
Yep.
so like it's kind of guilty pleasures, Motley Crue, 100%. I was obsessed with those guys. That's why I started playing bass. Fucking shit, dude. 90s though, man. Well, actually, you know what? In the 80s too, you got Beastie Boys was coming up. I fucking love me some Beastie Boys.
Okay, 80s like hip hop and rap is different though.
Hair metal though. I think that's the problem. Is
Pop,
hair metal,
pop and metal, and like rock in the 80s were like
it defined
which
the,
are my favorite genres.
but
Are just
yeah,
like shit. Fucking
I can
garbage.
get down with that. I will say, I'm gonna get crucified for this one, but like, dude, Phil Collins is overrated to me.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's to me very boring music. I'm sorry. Tarzan soundtrack, great, but guess what? That was
All
the
right.
90s.
Facts, bro.
So,
Facts.
not a big fan of 80s. Phil Collins. 90s though, cool.
I mean, 90s is
I like the 90s.
not my favorite era of music, but definitely the most influential for me.
I think that's what's great about art, though, too, is it's so influential. Art influences you.
I feel like the 90s built the foundations of every single of my favorite music pieces today.
Oh, 100%.
And I guess you could say that for those artists of the 90s were inspired by other artists, and that's true.
That's true. Everybody's inspired by somebody else down the line. I mean, and you know what's crazy, too? We haven't even touched on this piece of art. Literature. Literature is also art.
That is, yeah. So what constitutes art, man? What defines that shit, man? So it's not a media, because any medium can be art.
Any medium could be art.
We're literally doing art right now, but we're just talking. Isn't that fucking wild?
It is pretty wild. And drinking.
Do you have a favorite artist?
Do I have a favorite artist? In terms of...
Let's go I wouldn't say like not music, not like literature, but like you know, like art.
Art.
Like it doesn't have to be paintings or pieces of it could be digital. But
I mean, I guess I would say in terms of that, I'm a big sucker for Rembrandt. I like Rembrandt pieces. I think also though a big thing that I like about Rembrandt is tied to like I'm a huge like true crime fan and shit. Back in 1990, the Isabella Gardner Art Museum got robbed, and these Rembrandt pieces got stolen, and to this day they've never been found. 30 years ago.
well,
35 years ago.
have you heard of Rembrandt lighting?
I'm not familiar with the term.
A massive term in video, and we're kind of doing it. Basically, you have one side of the face lit, and on the shadow side of the face, you have like a small triangle of light over here, and it's one of the most common cinematic pieces of lighting in video. Very sought after because is cinematic, moody, and everything.
Something made a sound.
Oh. Anyway, so we had a camera die, but I was talking about Rembrandt lighting, inspired by Rembrandt, but it is that moody, emotional kind of lighting. But I have a couple of modern artists that I like a lot.
Okay.
A piece that I have upstairs, Laura Zombie, definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, she's dope.
She's great. Definitely gotten away from her in the past couple of years. But right now, one of my absolute favorites is an Instagram artist that I've seen. Her handle is Dead Seagull. So check her out. I'll put a link somewhere maybe. But her stuff is like, it looks very Asian inspired, like Asian kind of like culture inspired with like a really dark twist to it.
Ooh.
And this shit is so good. It's some of my favorite stuff I've ever seen. I'll show you later. But that stuff's my favorite. But also just a quick little shout out. One of my favorite like artists that I know, April Quast.
Oh, she's dope.
Dan's sister. Oh my god. Longtime friend of her and her family, and she just absolutely kills the stuff that she does.
I feel like she's so in tune with like the art process too. Like I get her email newsletters and stuff. But yeah, no, I like see some of the stuff she puts up there too, just like in terms of like being in tune with yourself, kind of like centering yourself and getting in tune with the process. And she's got it figured out, it seems like. So
it's funny too, because like growing up, she was always like an inspiration to me as an artist. And then when we started like getting a lot of energy in Sky Swamp, she told me that like we like motivated her and started driving her because of how like intense and how like fucking in it we were. And then in our little slower down period, the roles reversed again. She started inspiring me again. And now I feel like we're both kind of like figuring out our direction. And it's nice because like she's one of my favorite people to talk to about art because like she gets it. Like if you produce any kind of like artistic medium, you know what it's like. And she gets it, and it's nice to talk to someone that's not in the band, which I love you guys, but it's
I know,
cool
I
to
totally
talk to
get
other
it,
people.
man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that you know, it keeps coming back around to this word. I think is inspiration. I think at the end of the day, we're looking at and saying anything that inspires any sort of thought, I think, can be viewed as art.
So okay, now we're at what in it. You have to be inspired to make something. You have to inspire something from making something. You have to get the topic. It gets you thinking. You have to produce it. Am I missing anything here?
I don't.
We just figured out art. Is that what art is?
Figured it out, man. We've defined it. Harvard. We're looking for our time to chat with your doctoral graduates. So, you know, if you need the keynote speakers, we're here. We figured it out, and we will chat with your BFAs.
You want to wrap it up there?
We're gonna wrap it here. So, hey, thank you everybody who is listening. If you've enjoyed this, you know, share it around. You can find me on Instagram at itsnovels, ITZNOVLS. You can find this guy over here at
let's go with Blood Moon Visuals. So that's my like little Sky Swamp video company that I started a couple years ago, exclusively for Sky Swamp. But now it's gonna be like the hub of like all my art. So yeah, Blood_Moon_Visuals, and then don't forget to obviously follow Sky Swamp Orange. Is it just at Sky Swamp Orange?
At Sky Swamp Orange, yes.
We may or may not put something out in a year or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe.
We don't have a handle for this yet, but we will soon, and I will say that in the next one. But thank you everybody for tuning in today to Algae and
the swamp. What do we call it? Like, is it just
Algae.
algae, or do we call it like Algae, the Swamp Gang podcast, or like Algae stuck in the syphilis in the swamp?